On the 4th of July, my family was attending a family cookout at my wife's grandma's house. My son Caleb had finished eating and was riding his bike around the yard when suddenly he came around the side of the house and he was trying to put on a brave face, but I could tell that he was in pain. He had gotten too close to a wasp nest and one had stung him on the upper arm. You know, it's not uncommon to see wasp nests in the corners of doors and the eaves of houses and barns and in many similar places. And sometimes these nests will get very large if we don't notice their construction, and oftentimes we don't until the wasps start defending their little ones. We may not have any idea that they're building or what's going on until someone gets hurt. And this is what happened in Caleb's case. He had not noticed the wasps before getting stung. Well, as is common for me, my teacher mind goes into physical lessons and then spiritual lessons to be learned from this event. I wondered, why did Caleb not see this nest sooner? He had ridden by it several times before being stung. Why did he not see it until it was too late? Well, perhaps he was so preoccupied with playing that he didn't notice the wasps. Well, that was a lesson that he learned the hard way. At the same time, had he noticed them sooner, we might have prevented his getting hurt by safely removing the wasps and their nest. Well, I know these wasps didn't choose that location out of maliciousness. It's also true that there are places where wasps belong and places where they don't belong. But what are some spiritual lessons that we can learn from this? Just as Solomon learned lessons from dozens of different types of animals as set forth in the book of Proverbs, there are some lessons that we can learn from wasps as well. But what spiritual lessons might we learn from Caleb getting stung? Well, let's start by saying that just like a wasp nest, error creeps in quietly and does not try to draw attention to itself while it's developing. Jesus described false prophets as wolves in sheep's clothing in Matthew 7:15. This means that they start as quiet as little sheep and try not to draw attention to themselves until it's too late. The Apostle Paul warned of the same thing when speaking to the Ephesian elders in Acts chapter 20, verses 29 through 31. One spiritual lesson that we should learn is not to mistake peace and quiet for pure motives. Another lesson is that, like a wasp nest, error will continue to grow if ignored. On the spiritual side, many seem to have the philosophy that if we leave sin and error alone, it will go away. We're often told, don't rock the boat. However, if we leave sin alone, it will not go away. It's going to grow, just like a wasp nest will continue to get bigger if ignored. So also, error will grow. It will overwhelm a person, a home, a church, and a nation. Paul warned, a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump in 1 Corinthians 5 and verse 6, meaning that the leaven permeates the dough and allows it to expand. An error will do this if left alone and not confronted. Again, Paul said when error filled Jerusalem, he and the other apostles did not allow it to go unanswered, Galatians 2, 1 through 10. And then he went to Antioch and confronted Peter over his hypocrisy in Galatians 2, 11 through 17. He didn't wait to see what might happen to Peter and the others, because waiting for error to slow or stop is a foolish decision, because it won't do that. Things get worse, not better, when we allow sin to remain. Just like the wasp nest will only get bigger if we ignore its construction. Have you ever tried knocking down a wasp nest without first killing the wasps? Well, when you do that, the wasps aren't happy, and you're probably going to get stung. They didn't want to leave where they were, but they had to leave. They weren't welcome to build their nest, raise their young, and be a pest to those that lived around there. Now, our motivation for this is not because we hate wasps. Instead, these actions are motivated by our love for our family and their welfare. And it's the same today when confronting those who teach false doctrine or practice error. My motivation is not a hatred of that person, but it is speaking the truth in love, Ephesians 4:15. And when I do this, though, those in error will not be happy because the truth contradicts them. When Jesus and the apostles confronted error, those who were wrong weren't happy either. And since the servant is not greater than his Lord, then I know when I act like Jesus, the world will treat me the way that they treated him. Jesus attests to that in John 15, 18 through 21. Those in error will not like what they're told, but in the end, they will understand that it was said in a spirit of love and protection from those who are God's people. Friends, the next time that you observe wasps, realize that not only do these things speak to the beauty of God's diverse creation, but they also teach us invaluable spiritual lessons if we simply take the time to observe. Friends, we want to thank you for joining us for our program today, and have a blessed day.